There we go. So public-private partnership. This is a 10-mark question area waiting for you in the exam hall. Whether I like it or not, it is there. Question 4. A or B, we are going to be seeing public-private partnership there. Question 4 is with two things: 10-mark question on public procurement, and the other 10-mark question will come from public-private partnership arrangement. So we want to look at the first 10 marks area, which is the public private partnership arrangement. It's an interesting topic. I can guarantee you're gonna love it. It's very simple to understand, and once you understand the issues here, you can go into the exam hall and answer any question that the examiner is going to be providing you or asking you. So what exactly is public private partnership? Now, you know that governments has a primary responsibility, okay? Or if you want, public sector organizations have primary responsibility. The primary responsibility of government, beyond ensuring that there is safety, that is national security, maintaining law and order, and all of those things, it's to be able to provide infrastructure facilities. Okay, infrastructure facilities. So we need good road network. We need better railway lines. We need, better schools. All right. We need to have various other things, water facilities. Okay. We need to have various factories spread across the country to ensure that people are employed and people are working very well at the end of the day. We need some network, capabilities, towers, and all that to ensure. So these are all key infrastructure that is needed to increase the standard of living of the citizens at the end of the day. Because we need better roads, we need better railway, we need better schools. Heck, we need some airports, coming in to ensure that, the aviation sector is also working well, and other kinds of infrastructure facilities. So primarily, we pay taxes to the government. Government borrows money on behalf of the citizens. Government receive grants and all that to help to provide some of these infrastructure facilities to enable or to improve the standard of living of citizens. But the thing that you must understand is that, say, for every 1 Ghana cedi of tax that you pay, about 90% of that goes into running the machinery of government. What does that mean? Because we have to pay wages and salary. There are training. There are per diem. The president is traveling somewhere. You could see the convoy, 35 and 40 fleet of vehicles, because they have to launch a certain factory somewhere, or there is a certain project somewhere that they have to outdoor or commission. And so there are fleets of vehicles and all of those things. So for every 1 Ghana cedi tax that you pay, it's likely that 90% goes into just running the machinery of government. So it means that about only 10 pesos is left for government to be able to then provide the road, the railway, the school, the water facilities, the factories, the network, the airports, and all the other infrastructure facilities needed to increase the standard of living of the citizens. Now, coupled with this, government could go and borrow money. All right. So, but how much can government borrow? Government can only borrow so much to finance some of these infrastructure facilities. And currently, Ghana is under IMF program, and we are having problem with a second tranche of money being released. It's because a couple of things are not aligning very well because of our debt position as a country. So really, you realize that if we want to rely on the government to provide the needed infrastructure facilities, then development will never come in. The standard of living of the citizens will never increase. And so, to solve this menace and this challenge generally, then there is a need to bring in the private sector, because the private sector is going to be having the funding. The private sector is going to be having the technology. The private sector may have the technology and the necessary things that are needed to provide these infrastructure facilities. It is on this basis why the public private partnership arrangement was introduced by the World Bank with support from various other countries to ensure that nations are able to have their infrastructure facilities. And that is the whole idea about public-private partnership arrangement. So it is where a public sector organization, or if you want, the government, who we will refer to as the contracting entity, enters into an arrangement with private sector entities to provide some of these infrastructure facilities that should have been the government's primary role to provide generally. That is all about public-private partnership arrangement. Now, just an aside, it is important for you to understand that sometimes two public entities could also come together to undertake a project. That is called public partnership. Okay, so two public organizations can also come together to execute a project. That is important because that way the two public institutions are going to be sharing the risk. It enables value for money to be achieved. To some extent, it reduces corruption in awarding of contract and other things. And so there are some benefits that government gets when two public organizations come together, and that is public partnership. But our focus really is going to be on when the government enters into an arrangement with the private sector. I've written public here again. With the private sector entities to undertake these projects. So what does the private sector bring on board? Like I said earlier, the private sector is going to be bringing on board the funding that we need. So sometimes the private sector is coming on board because they have the funding that we need for the projects generally that we want to undertake. Number two, sometimes it's just the technology, because sometimes we are bringing the private sector on board not because the government wants money, but because there is a technology that the government wants to leverage on. So the private sector could come in and we use their technology. It could be for our election, our voters register or database. It could be issues in relation to the general database management of the country. So we will bring in the private sector to undertake that project. Or sometimes it could just be looking at their expertise or skills. So the private sector brings on board the funding, the technology, the expertise to assist the public sector entities, which is the contracting entity, to undertake a project in that regard. Now, the question we then ask ourselves is, how does the private sector get paid at the end of the day? Because one thing you must understand is that public sector organizations primarily exist to maximize the welfare of citizens. But you and I know that the private sectors, they are not there to maximize welfare of any citizens. They are there to maximize the wealth of shareholders. So the two parties have different agenda, different goal, different objectives. So when the private sector is coming in with the funding or the technology or the expertise or the skills to partner with the governments to undertake a project that the government should have undertaken, they have to be paid. So the big question we then ask ourselves is, how do they get paid? There are three ways that they can be paid. The private sector can be paid. Number one, it could be service charges. So this is where the end users are going to be charged for using the service. So it could be a toll on a road somewhere, and so when you get there, you pay whatever amount. In our part of the world, Ghana, I think the tolls have been cancelled, but they are planning on bringing it back up. But that is an end user fee. Or if it is, say, a housing project, then it will be rented, and tenants will collect the revenue or the rent income, and that will be their service fee in that case. So that's the first way they get paid, the service fees. Another way they get paid is through, budget allocation, because sometimes not all projects can the private sector charge people for. So because sometimes some of the things are social good, so you cannot charge the end users for it. So in that case, there is going to be budget allocation every year for a number of years where the private individuals or private sector entities get paid. Or in some cases, it could be a combination of the two. It could be the combination of the two.